Hello, Awaken Beauties. Finally, it's here. The truth to empower women to true inner beauty through a healthy mind and inner biology. I am your hostess, Cassandra Keel, a 20-year salon owner, organic beauty product formulator, positive mind management, and clinical hypnotherapist. And I am here to help you stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back. Sponsored by evoquebeauty.com. evoquebeauty.com. Now, let's get to it. Welcome to the Awaken Beauty podcast. This is Cassandra, your organic beauty, positive mind management, and clinical hypnotherapist. It's all about hair, ladies. Today, we're talking about hair loss. We're talking about the underlying, very commonly hidden reason to hair loss, which is iron deficiency, and some top of mind solutions that I have helped not only my clients with, but absolutely have followed functional medicine and protocols to make sure that we're taking the right tests at the right time and getting to the root of the matter. Now, aging, my friends, aging, hair loss, and the missing link to a iron deficiency and the labs to ask for is what we're going to discuss today. Now, as a 20-year organic salon owner, I converse every day with women, their experiences of the aging process and how to measure and support and transform the midlife modern day approach to aging with a functional medicine and energy psychology approach. Now, when I say energy, we have to understand that before anything becomes physical in the 3D formation, everything starts off as energy. Everything from the nutrients we take in to the thoughts that we think is an energetic input and output. So, as women age, their hormones take off on a roller coaster, often exacerbating the signs of aging, which leaves us turning to a $13 billion industry, meaning the beauty industry, for short-term answers. But the solutions run deeper than this. And so today we're going to be talking about one major complaint, and that is thinning hair. Now, what can women do when they start to see their hair starting to thin? Now, sometimes hair loss is associated with high androgens, which are other sex hormones, essentially. But more commonly, the root cause can be linked back to low iron, sometimes a thyroid, hormone imbalance, insulin resistance, and one common missing link hidden deep in lab work is that there's not enough iron. Now, rapid hair loss can be an early sign of hemoglobin issues and is often first diagnosed in a beauty salon. That's right. And in addition to thinning and shedding, your hair can become coarse, dry, and easily tangled. Now, this is what I'm talking about when you have an iron deficiency. So my clients often complain of these different areas of dry hair. It's tangly, the scalp is dry, the hair is starting to thin. It's just not how it used to be when you were younger. Now, in one study, 90% of women with thinning hair were deficient in iron and the amino acid of lysine. Now, lysine helps transport your iron, which is essential for many metabolic processes, just like magnesium is a cofactor to over 300 processes in the body. So let's get underneath and really look at what we can do about it. And we're going to be talking about iron deficiency, anemia, and hair loss. And I'm also going to give you 2 solutions that I found that worked for me. And hint, hint, if you didn't know, I lost 60% of my hair And through many labs, I was on the brink of burnout, but the underlying deficiency was severely low hemoglobin that was not addressed for 3 years. So this is one of those situations that I feel as though in the world of hair loss, people just straight up overlook the vast majority of the time. So there are many of my clients that have tried everything from minoxidil, they've tried Propecia, they've tried boatloads of researching and spending money on vitamins, and they're lucky to get an accurate lab test. And essentially, they end up in the chair, and I do our very standard conversation. I send them to a functional med practitioner. They do a standard blood test of ferritin, vitamin D3, blood type, maybe, and they come back and their ferritin is low. And their ferritin is their iron storage protein. So this is what's important, is to know who to go to get the accurate blood test in the first place. And functional med docs usually are a great person to do so. And so going back to the ferritin, if that's low, and what I mean by low is essentially less than optimal, that can be a massive influence in the loss of hair and essentially prevent you from even growing it back. So if you're struggling, I highly suggest looking at iron, but you have to first look at the ferritin, because your ferritin is your iron storage protein. Iron is absolutely vital. It's a vital substance for our body. Without it, we can't live. It is 70% of what actually makes up our hemoglobin, which I suffered from for many years, which is our red blood cells that transport oxygen throughout all of our body. And collectively, we have to have pretty substantial amounts of iron in our diet to keep our bodies working properly. And when we're looking at this scenario for hair loss, we have two major blood tests that we look for to understand how iron and ferritin is influencing your hair. So I really like to explain it kind of like a checking and savings account analogy, because fundamentally your body utilizes iron essentially to build tissue, to create muscle tissue, to create vital red blood cells, and to create the enzymatic process, the enzymes and the proteins throughout your entire body to keep you strong and to keep you alive. And that is actually what's pulled from what I call your iron, quote unquote, checking account, or your serum iron. And that goes to actively pay and serve the need of the biological body's processes. So we have to have a savings account, because on a rainy day, when you need the iron in case, then you just pull it from somewhere else. So that savings account is called your ferritin. And ferritin is what actually matters when it comes to your hair, because when your ferritin decreases, your body knows something is internally at risk. So when the alarms go off and when that ferritin starts to diminish, your body starts to seek and pull expenses from elsewhere within the body. So what your body does is it cuts that cellular production in your body, which is your scalp and your follicle production long term. So it can easily diminish due to the mandatory needs to compensate for that lower ferritin. So this is what happens when ferritin gets reduced. You end up pulling from your follicle production to make sure that you have enough iron to keep you alive and to keep your immune system strong and to rebuild that internal tissue that consistently needs maintenance on a daily basis. So through all of that, we must have enough iron serum and ferritin for your hair, as well as obviously to have storage for other tissues. All right, so we've got that down. Ferritin is super important, as well as iron serum. So next, let's go ahead and discuss this, excuse my language, clusterfuck of lab work, because it is confusing. It's very confusing, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm going to tell you what to ask for. So when you're going to get a lab blood test, a standard blood workup is simply not going to give you the information that you need to know your ferritin or your iron and how it's influencing your hair. So I always suggest that my clients ask for a serum iron blood test and a ferritin blood test to know exactly where you're at. Also, intuitively, you really want to start to look at some additional symptoms that you maybe have been allowing or getting some different clues on that might also insinuate that your iron is actually really low. So such symptoms are going to be bruising, that you're easily fatigued. You may be lightheaded, or you may even have heart palpitations. So I know for me, going upstairs or long extended cardio, I would get very, very easily fatigued. Didn't have the bruising, but I definitely had that lightheadedness. And if your ferritin is low, you might not even have any of those additional physical symptoms, and you might just experience hair loss. So again, that's why you really want to request both of these different blood tests. So again, it's your iron blood test and your ferritin blood test. Okay, so this brings us to the question, how much do you need? And like everything, it really truly is an individual to each person, their genetics, their epigenetics, their lifestyle, their nutrition, and their environment. Because every individual, you are going to have a little bit of a daily requirement of iron based on your lifestyle factors. One obvious key demographic that will have more demands of iron would be a highly menstruating female, which may be in her 20s or 30s, that's still menstruating and may be menstruating very heavily. And so as soon as a woman begins to menstruate, she's losing very large amounts of blood on a monthly basis because the key factor and overwhelming need for iron is going to affect her. And so when you lose that blood, you're actually going to end up pulling again from your ferritin stores to rebuild all of those red blood cells that you just lost. So other things that could increase your demand for iron are high demands of stress. Chronic stress over a long period of time keeps your body in this sustaining mode, in that fight or flight. We're in high alarm. We got to make sure that we're being able to sustain that iron storage. And it's also going to be in higher demand for those that work out really vigorously, high athletes, people that run marathons. So it's always really important to make sure that you get those blood tests and get those iron and ferritin stores up. Now, other denominators that may increase your demands for iron are going to be medications. And these will actually cause a lack of absorption of the iron, and as well as blood thinners, proton pump inhibitors, as well as acid reflux medications. So when it comes to proton pump inhibitors, they block the absorption of your iron. And so if you're on those, you definitely need to call a friend, if you know a friend or your husband or somebody that is on them, to really, really pay attention and consult with your doctor. So additionally, if you're limited in animal protein, if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you most certainly need to substantially be able to supply your body with enough iron. And you would be a candidate for low ferritin, which then leads to a diminishment of healthy hair production. And I've seen this in my chair multiple times, and I can pretty intuitively key into the tonality of the skin, the brightness in the eyes, the follicle, and if it's getting thinner over time, how dry the scalp is. right? So other daily consumption that may be influencing the factor are your consumables, such as coffee and tea consumption. Now, this is interesting because there's actually very high levels of tannins, and tannins will actually bind and block the absorption, right? So tea and coffee also is an obstruction to your iron absorption. So let's go ahead and bring this into conclusion by walking through just a couple solutions that I wanted to give you. Now, realistically, you want to consume bioavailable iron. And bioavailable iron, forms of iron, are going to be best suited through eating red meat and other forms of nutritional intake through your diet, right? It's going to be the most bioavailable. Hopefully you have a good gut lining and that you're not dealing with leaky gut so that you can actually absorb. Now, keep in mind that ferritin is cumulative in your bloodstream, and it will take time to really increase. So you don't actually see the benefits of the ferritin or the iron absorption until your ferritin is actually incredibly growing each day and incrementally coming up over time. And then the other piece is, for me, what really broke call it the camel's back, whatever that saying is by actually taking glandulars. Now, with my functional med doc, I love her so much. We run my labs every 6 months. And by taking glandulars, it really, really supported me. It really helped to trick the body. And it tricks the body by thinking that your ferritin is higher than it is. And the earlier that you can do this, the better, and thus improving your overall hair growth sooner. Now, I personally am on glandular supplements. I'm going to leave a note here on the show notes. I get it from Amazon. It's really important that you're getting a whole food. You're not getting any kind of hormones into those glandulars. And yes, I'm talking about liver, some of these pieces that really are really quick to be absorbed in the body and start supporting you straight away. So I'll go ahead and leave a link to that product that I use, which you can easily find. And then last but not least, I always want to share with my clients that you can do as much work internally, but when you're aging and your hormones are slowing down, or you're not getting the proper nutrients because of lack of gut dysbiosis, is that you have to use a topical. Now, not all topicals are created equal. A lot of topicals have a shampoo and a system that have a lot of salicylic acid in it, which is going to dissolve the androgens and the DHT in the scalp, which sometimes is a cause of hair loss. But for me, when I started taking glandulars and started using our Evoke Beauty topical, game changer. Now, I created this beautiful, powerful solution over 4 years ago. It is a game changer because it is the first regenerative medicine topical on the market. And it is literally scientifically studied to be 2 times more powerful than minoxidil, which is a drug-based system, which does have side effects. And oh, by the way, has toxins in it that you don't want leaking through your scalp, right? So last but not least, I wanted to share this most impactful topical product that I offer my clients, and I see an ROI in them in anywhere between 3 to 6 months. Now, my research, all of my anecdotal data that you can see, all of my graphs and actual pictures of the follicle growing starts to work actually in 9 days. Right? But that 3 to 6 month time frame, when using a topical, you need to give it that time because that is the time of the natural growth cycle. Most people have a 7-year growth cycle. We are growing, and then the hair dies off. So here's a little bit about this restorative tonic, and it helps rejuvenate the scalp and the follicle. It does add body and volume, and it leaves the appearance of thicker and fuller hair because of that. It is not an oil base. It is not just a bunch of alcohol with a couple actives. It's super, super nutrient dense, and the benefits are going to enhance hair growth. It's also going to be very lightweight with no oily residue, so you can easily style with it. It reduces inflammation. So you want to get those inflammation markers down on the top of the scalp, and you want to create an energetic frequency for healing and balance. Now, what I do with these products and all of my products is that I actually homogenize it in an energy balancing system, which actually optimizes the productivity of the product and its availability and bioavailability. Now, it also has amino acids to strengthen and thicken and decreases breakage because of the weak follicle. It also lengthens the growth phase and shortens the fallout phase and restores that healthy growth cycle. And last but not least, it increases the scalp circulation, bringing nutrition deeper into the follicle and up to the scalp. Now, it is proven to be, again, 2 times more powerful than drug-based solutions. So your scalp is one of the fastest growing tissues, which is why we need that iron to be able to supply the tissue. And it's the fastest growing tissue in the body. So it deserves a whole lot of love, my friends. And thinning hair happens when the hair stem cells shrink and they stay asleep in the scalp. So the Evoke Root Revival Tonic helps as a molecular switch to turn on new hair growth. It strengthens and stimulates the scalp to ignite that hair growth, to prevent the hair loss by densifying that hair follicle, right? By prolonging that growth phase. Because here's the deal, my friends. Once women hit age 40, and I actually diffuse this and say, actually, it's more like 30 nowadays, is because of the stress overload, the toxins, et cetera, the diameter of the hair shaft actually begins to shrink, leaving you with that thinner, kind of less limp volume of the hair. And these follicles continue to shrink as we age. And nearly 40% of women experience some degree of hair loss by the age of 55. Since hair growth is hormonally driven, many women see these changes coincide with pregnancy, perimenopause, and menopause. But again, iron and ferritin storage is a key piece that I see so many women do not ever be able to get to the root of because they don't get the right tests. Now, additionally, as we age, the keratin production cycle gets shorter, so hairs don't fully grow. And there's a myriad of other lifestyle environmental factors that happens as we age. But here's the key ingredients. Now, this is the secret sauce. So we have DHQG. Now, this is basically a molecule derived from larch tree, which is found to carry out multiple functions within the hair growth as far as molecular switches, so to speak. Then we have ECGC, which is going to reduce the inflammatory state of the scalp and also minimize aging of the skin. Then we've got zinc and glycine, which is going to allow that improvement of growth and strengthening of the hair. And then we have apigenin, which is a very, very strong bioflavonoid that acts as an antioxidant. And research has shown that this ingredient stimulates hair growth. We've got tripeptides. This is tripeptide 1, which is the most powerful amino acid that activates and lengthens the growth phase, strengthens and energizes that circulation to the scalp for ultimate nutrient delivery. And then we have oleanic acid, which is a natural component of many plants. It's a really, really highly efficacious antioxidant and antimicrobial. It's often used in hair growth products together with the tripeptide in which I just mentioned. And last but not least, are strong active of saw palmetto and glycoproteins. Now, these two are linked. There's a linked protein and polysaccharide, and it's actually a sugar that thickens and strengthens, while saw palmetto soothes the root. And studies show that it decreases hormonal imbalances that causes thinning hair as well, which is so key. So that pretty much gave you a lay of the land, an underlying issue that we do not test for accurately, which is iron and your ferritin storage, as well as lifestyle factors such as high productivity. As far as output, you need to be able to have that resting phase and be able to replenish the iron with glandulars and nutritional input. And last but not least, topical care through the Root Revival Activator, which is going to be your organic and natural way to be able to start stimulate that hair growth while you're building the body's iron and ferritin storage back up. And quite frankly, any situation, whether it's menopause, fatigue, you name it. Our hair is the last love bug that's going to get any kind of nutrients, our skin and our hair, because everything else is running at optimum to keep you alive and to keep all of your hormones running. So, my friends, that's it for now. And I could say so much more, but I hope that if you need anything, please do feel free to reach out to me. If you need assistance with testing or products. And for the product, make sure you go to evoqbeauty.com, evoquebeauty.com, where I've got the Root Revival shampoo and conditioner supportive, and to couple around the Root Revival activating tonic. And so just reach out if you want to get a protocol. I'd love to help you with the protocol so you can better understand exactly how you might be influenced by ferritin or by low iron. And please, if you want more episodes like this, please support me and go ahead and subscribe to this channel on YouTube for the Awaken Beauty podcast and your favorite podcast streaming channels. And also know that I am invested in your hair growth experience, and I'm personally happy to help you in any way. And make sure you visit evoquebeauty.com, evoqbeauty.com for the Root Revival Activator. With that said, I will leave any notes in the show notes here. All of my love, all of my light, and we'll see you on the next episode. Well, hello, Awaken Beauty. Thank you so much for joining the show today. Were you inspired? Please leave a comment or your own personal aha moment so others can capture exactly what you did. Also, please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're interested in high quality natural products for your hair, skin, and wellness, including organic CBD, please visit evoquebeauty.com. Again, that is evoquebeauty.com, evoqbeauty.com. And until next time, darling, stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back.